Welcome back to another episode of Body Language Podcast. It's episode 33, I think. I'm looking at Eleanor as if she knows what the fuck episode we're on. 33, 34, one of those two. Cheers. Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. Yeah, man, just hanging out. It's Random Tuesday. Felt like shooting a podcast, so here we are. Go ahead and kick this shit off with some updates. I sold my Volkswagen van, and we had a very relaxing, non-exciting at-home Thanksgiving this year. We had a new family member come into our life, Eleanor, the little dog, little Jack Russell Chihuahua mix. She's cool as hell. And this year we're going to be doing Christmas from afar, which is going to be strange. And they've officialized the 10th season of The Office. Updates, done, got those out of the way. How have you guys been? Hope you guys been good. You know, it's just been a normal day in the life of the Moore family. It's gotten cold here. Clearly, I got a fucking beanie on. Yeah, dude. I was running through some old Crystalia podcast. I just started getting sad, man. Thinking about all the times that I used to just sit and listen to that podcast in my car. Watch it late night after the kids would go to bed. Man, it just sucks. It's hard to watch now. I was a big Chris fan. Damn it, Crystalia. But don't be a pig. Don't be a piece of shit. Because it'll always come back around. I know some people have a hard time not being an asshole. And doing certain shitty things because of business, and it just runs in their blood. But don't toss such bad karma out there that you can't deal with the consequences if it comes back to you, you know? Yep. Perv. Anyway, that took a weird fall. Crystalia podcast. Anyway, I hope you guys have been staying positive, man. Second wave of COVID. Trump's out of office, so yay for some of y'all, and fuck for the rest of y'all. You know, I'm right down the middle. I'm indifferent. I don't give a shit. And what I really do give a shit about, I probably won't ever share on this podcast unless I just feel the need to get that off my chest. But typically and normally it ever isn't. But, you know. Oh, also news. Jessica and I are going to do an audio podcast here in the next, 2 weeks or less. We're going to shoot it in our bed. I'm going to set the mics up in the bed. We'll just do like an audio. I've got like a really cool visual, like the intro and the outro. I've got that slowed down and kind of re-edited a little bit for the backdrop for, that audio podcast. Also, another podcast I've been listening to recently is the Mike Herrera podcast. He's the vocalist and bass player of MXPX, my personal favorite pop punk band. They're the shit. I love them very much. But anyway, he's got a podcast, and it's very good. It's not like my podcast where like I do music and I have a vlog, and I just thought it'd be cool to do a podcast. I know I'm not that great at podcasting. I'm trying here. I'm trying my best. Okay. But I feel like I haven't done a one-on-one in a while. It's been like 6 months or so since I've done a one-on-one, or maybe even longer, because the last one I did before I knew I was going to have to take a few months off because of quarantine was a solo cast, and it was the bedcast episode. But I don't know, I feel like these are okay. Some of them are bad, but I feel like some of them it's a hit, some are a miss. Anyway. Yeah, positivity, man. Hope you guys have been staying positive. It's been really hard to stay positive in this world recently with COVID, the second wave, and Everybody freaking out. New president. Like I said earlier, some are excited, some are pissed. But anyway, yeah, I hope you guys are just staying up. And I don't know what music I'm going to decide to put in the background of this podcast, but whatever it is, if you like it, the link is in the description, along with mine and Jessica's Instagram link and our vlog link. Yeah, I was going to have my buddy Casey on the podcast, and I've been bitching about that for a while, pretty much since I started the podcast, but I just don't know if he's ever going to be on the podcast. I just don't really, I know my podcast is typically guest driven, just, I don't know, it's just guest driven. I feel like it's one of those things that it's primarily visited because of the guests that I have. But I feel like I can squeeze out some of these solo ones. Like I said, I feel like I can pull it off a little bit, If not, whatever, just don't fucking watch it. Fuck you. By the way, like and subscribe if you have made it this far in, 10 minutes or so in. Like and subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we upload a podcast. Or it really doesn't matter. I mean, if you subscribe, I'm sure it'll just show up in your feed. Our podcasts are pretty swallowable podcasts. They're very short, 2 hours or less. Or I guess that's not that short. I guess compared to some of the podcasts I listen to and watch, they'll go for hours. But whatever. Cheers. Hope you've been staying positive. It's been really hard. Fuck COVID. But anyway, yeah, if you watch the vlog, you know that Eleanor's been in our life now for a little bit, but I haven't shot a podcast since Eleanor's been around. Little black puppy. Oh, man. Yeah. Yo, I got this song stuck in my head off the new Goldfinger record. It's pretty good. It's a good, ska rock, pop punk band. Kind of, just like medium rock. They're a good band. Yeah, I got this one song stuck in my head that they just came out with. I've also, speaking of music, I've been wanting to do this thing now where I have a segment in the podcast where I talk about music, and I'm gonna call it Not That Big. Oh no, Not As Big As You Think It Is. I'm going to start it in this podcast, and I'm going to roll with it. It's going to be called It's Not As Big As You Think It Is. And it's kind of how the process of writing a record or the process of having a hit song, and later down the line you realize it was the band or the composer, the writer, producer's least favorite song, but it ended up being the most popular song, despite the genre, what's popular at the time. And it always ends up, I don't know, it's always the band always ends up having to relearn that part of the record because it ends up becoming more popular than it was intended. And a lot of my favorite music and a lot of the things that I like to listen to end up being those exact things. And it happens so much, and it happens in such a centrifugal way where I hear it. It's almost days or moments right when I need to hear it. So it's strong enough to me to want to bring up on the podcast and call It's Not As Big As You Think It Is, because it kind of has play on words, because to me it's a big deal, but it's also, the product of what's making me feel that good really isn't that big of a deal. So yeah, man, I think that would be kind of cool and I'm also going to do that with guests as well, when I have guests on here. Yeah, I'm sure I've picked a lo-fi mix to put back here, and it's probably going to get demonetized, and that's fine. I don't give a shit. But like I said, if you do like it, it's in the description, and while you're down in the description, like and subscribe, comment, or don't, just like and subscribe. But yeah, man, particularly the one story that I'm thinking about. Speaking of Goldfinger, a song that they had on an older record, I think Superman was on Hang Ups, but everybody knows that song Superman off Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I knew it before because it was on X Games compilation record from like 1997 or something like that. And I loved it because it was like more ska orientated, and I loved that shit back then. I still do, but specifically I loved ska back then. I just saw this thing on YouTube. No, it was on Amazon, and it was John Feldman, the vocalist, talking about like how if it wasn't for the video game and all those compilations picking up that song, their band wouldn't have taken off the way that it did, and it was kind of crazy. It put it in perspective on, and again, I'm going to go into more depth on this in other podcasts, because I feel this way about multiple other things than just music, but music particularly the heaviest. How if those games and compilations wouldn't have picked up that song, the band would have never gotten as big as they would have, and to me it's weird because the band didn't know they were writing that song at the time, and it was going. I feel like every song, like for instance, one of my more popular tracks that I've written is called Parameters, and it's gotten a little over 1,100 views. When I wrote it, I've just had this vibe that it was going to take off, it was going to kick ass, and it did, at least by my standards. But then I've had other tracks where I've thought that and it didn't get any plays, and then there's been other times where I just wrote something completely off the palm of my hand and just couldn't have been more organic, and I just didn't think about the reaction of others and just kind of kept my main focus on what was honest to me with the material and the pieces and instruments that I had around me, and it ended up being a hit, and I never would have guessed that before. So segue that back into the Superman Goldfinger conversation is I just thought that story was really cool and how it was relevant to. Probably didn't explain that as well to you guys as it is in my head, and I'll get better at that the more I do this during the podcast. It's not as big as you think it is. We're gonna keep doing that. I'm gonna get better at doing that. I'm gonna do more segments too. I was doing them with Nick and the Kuzma, but since we moved, they moved too. So I mean, we both used to live in Orange Beach, and now I live in Foley, and they live in Gulf Shores. So we all went our separate directions. But whenever they are on the podcast, we will talk about music and soccer and old high school stories, mushroom stories. Anyway, yeah, Merry Christmas, y'all. Love Christmas. Halloween used to be my favorite, now Christmas is. I love it. Merry Christmas. It is like a sucky draw to have to make the transition at the beginning of the year when you're taking all your Christmas stuff down. That does suck hard, but some good things can't last forever. Yeah. All right, so we're about 15 minutes in. That was a wild stab in the dark. I have no idea how far we are into this podcast, but I'm going to go ahead and say about 15 minutes. We're going to take a break real quick. I'm going to refill my cup. Coffee. Charge my Juul. And we'll be right back. Normally this is where I'd be throwing up like a little sponsor reel. But for the first time since episode 3 or 4. Episode 5. Yeah, episode 5. We've been a sponsored podcast until now. But anyway, hold your seat. BRB. Okay, here we go. Welcome back. All right, so we are trucking along, my peoples, my brothers and sisters. Body languagers. I'll work on that. Okay, but anyway. Yo, I love this shirt. This is one of my favorite shirts in the fucking world, man. I love this shirt. So good. So good. Bought it in like 2014 with a Bass Pro Shop gift card. Best purchase I've made in a while. Oh, man. So anyway. Yeah, dude. Yeah. I'm energized now. Got my coffee. Got some cheese in me. Feeling good. Oh, dude. Honestly, this Christmas, I wanted to ask for a trip to Disney World. Clearly, way too expensive. But I decided that on top of us officially going to Disney World, my family and I, we're going for a week. And we're going to try to upgrade our hotel. You know, like our stay. And Jessica and I also want to do their Disney Celebration 5K. We want to do that. I think that'd be fun. But yeah, man, how have you guys been doing? Hope you guys been doing good. I know I said earlier, I hope you guys been staying positive, but I hope you guys been doing good. You know, I have 2 guests planned for like the next ever right now. Just two guests. One of which has been on before. I was talking to my buddy Dan and Bailey and having both of them on at the same time. Because that would be a good podcast, I think. So Dan and Bailey, and then and if you don't know, if you haven't, Bailey Calloway and Dan are 2 of my best friends and grew up together, so whenever we're together it always ends up being a good podcast. It's been a few times, well, I mean, we've never been together in podcasts, but when we've shot our separate podcasts, it's always gone really well. And when we're together, we drink and hang out, and so sometimes some of the footage is bullshit and it's just shit we can't use. So that has happened twice. So, but anyway, that, and I'm going to have a construction worker buddy of mine who on the side does woodwork, like my friend Chris did. And it's going to be pretty cool. He's a very talented fella. Very talented. I will say something about this strange angle. You know, I always do like 2 to 3 different angles when I shoot the podcast. And sometimes 4 if I'm getting fucking creative, feeling it. I don't know. I switch it up a little bit. But this one particularly at this time of day, it's like 1. I think it's like 1 p.m. Maybe a little bit past that. The light is fucking great, dude. Right? Good thing I shaved my face today. But anyway, man, yeah. Anyway. Oh, also, I'm going to throw a cookie nugget of a movie out there for all you people who actually give a shit and have made it this far into the podcast. The Orange Years. It's on Amazon. It's a Nickelodeon documentary movie, and it's very well done. It's got like narrative interviews by like Josh Server and Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell and a few of the other cast members of Are You Afraid of the Dark, and Clarissa Explains It All. You know, like all those good, seriously my favorite era of Nickelodeon's. The best years of Nickelodeon, in my opinion. It's kind of focused on that. But yeah, it costs like $3. Watch it. It's fucking amazing. I'm a huge fan of those years. I think a little bit more than I lead on. I have a lot more passion. I can hear my cat eating. I'm surprised Eleanor didn't pick up on that. But anyway, I think that those years really like keep me young, and they make me happy when I think about them. And when I find little nuggets like that on YouTube or Amazon, like I immersed myself into that culture so hard then, and didn't know that I didn't really let go of it until now, when I have time to be at home with my kids and my wife. And she also has like, you know, a large love for those Nickelodeon years specifically, because she's only 29 and I'm only 32, so we went through almost the similar years, you know. But I think that's something that I hold dear. So that movie particularly really hit it for me. So if you guys like that type of shit, or if you guys like vintage Disney or anything up that alley, I think you would enjoy this. It's called The Orange Years on Amazon. It's not sponsored, it's not plugged financially. I'm just throwing it out there because it's that good of a movie. It's on Amazon. Google it. Yeah. Was anyone's Thanksgiving this year? Like, mine wasn't weird because my wife made her first Thanksgiving feast all on her own, for real. And it was bomb, fire, kick ass. It was an unreal amount of set food. It was fantastic. She killed it. 10 out of 10. 100 out of 100, for real. But it was strange having it here, not traveling. And I've gotten used to not traveling this year because we haven't gone to any shows. I haven't played any shows. Haven't DJ'd at all. Haven't written any music at all. Like, I've started 2 tracks and they're just kind of in chill limbo mode. But that's neither here nor there. And, you know, like, nobody's been doing anything. So I've kind of gotten used to not traveling, but the holidays are very specific for my family. And it kind of sucks, if you ask me. So if anyone else is struggling out there with that, you just hang in there. You know, I know January 1st, 2021 is not just going to like, shit's going to change, but maybe that can be the staple in the ground of the first day where things for real do start changing. Because as of today, I heard on the radio on the way to work when we were listening to Christmas music, when I was dropping Jessica off, that they have the first vaccination and they're going to start giving it to the health workers and like the public service community and things like that. And so, yeah, I mean, if they're up for it, then I potentially could be up for it, you know? So, you know, positive thoughts on a brighter 2021. Cheers. I gotta stop drinking coffee. I'm gonna be way too wired after this podcast. I was only kind of aiming for like a 35 to 45 minute podcast. So shit. By the way, thank you guys so much for all the love on the last 2 podcasts with Dustin and Dax. Got pretty close to like 100 views a piece on those, and not a whole lot of people watch this podcast. So I think 100 different people watching the podcast is pretty cool. I watched it once, so I mean, one of the views is mine, clearly. I do that to every video I upload. I just watch it one time through to make sure I didn't make any mistakes or make myself look stupid or too stupid. Okay, but yeah, man. Yeah, man. I've had that Christmas music on heavy, son, for real. Like for real. At 99.9 in my car. Or day or morning, bro, and in the evening when I work, I listen to, you know, podcast and music and shit like that. I've been listening to Sum 41 a lot recently. Been kind of throwing it. I'm always on the throwback mode, but like super specifically, Sum 41 recently. That's been my shit. Yeah. Oh man. Anyway, I said earlier, got segued on Disney, what I wanted for Christmas, but this year I think I'm just going to ask for like some new workout clothes and maybe some Amazon cards. You know, been tattooed this year, gone a few places. I've provided for my kids. My grandparents and my parents have all stepped in, and since the first day I've had children, and always played like a huge role in that part of, as any family should, and as any parent should. But it's like I just don't aside from that's really all I want to do right now. Me and Jessica, that's all I want to do. Yeah, I am stoked about that Jessica podcast. I really do love shooting Jessica podcast. She always gets weird on camera, even on the vlogs, but I force her into it. We fancy ourselves, okay? We're not getting too big-headed here, but we fancy ourselves as kind of like the very low-grade Casey Neistat and Candace Poole, because I'm always very eager to get on camera and very eager to shoot a vlog or reshoot a cool time-lapse or slow-mo, whatever. And she's just like a click it and piece on it, just let's roll on it kind of girl. That I'm just like, I've either gotten really good at taking the shots that I know I need to get, or I'll go back and get them. And she always shuts down and gets shy, and I'm always like bubbly on camera, I guess, a little bit. And it's kind of fun. It's a funny dynamic, because in real life I'm more quiet and she's more talkative, but on camera she's less talkative and I'm more talkative, so it's weird. I like shooting podcasts with her. This started out like this was our podcast, but throughout the time and how the dynamic worked and shit like that, just kind of turned into mine, where she would just be on every other episode or so. But it's hard to get her on, like, when I have friends that I'm really passionate about talking to, like Dax and his job and his life, and Dustin and his like nomad lifestyle, and then Bailey and his like independent business lifestyle, and like people who are just important to me. I'm super interested in their life, even though I already know, but I want to share it with other people. I really like shooting the podcast with Jessica because it's like I'm more open, I'm more comfortable around her. I mean, that probably has a lot to do because I'm in love with her, but aside from that, I really enjoy bouncing and talking back and forth with her. But it's hard for her to be on the podcast with my friends are here when we can all have like big stories about things we all did together, because my friends either have girlfriends or wives, and they come with them and they're off doing their own thing, or we're all drinking, and then halfway through Jessica gets a little tipsy, and then we have to edit a lot of Jessica's things out. So it's better if her and I just have like our own specific podcast episode where we're talking about like our family and our routine and our workout, our diet, and our drinking habits or parenting habits, or advice or taking advice or giving advice, however whatever we have in mind or have done in the past. It's kind of like how we typically drive back and forth on the podcast, but when we're in the car together, it's like a whole different breed of us, because it's like we're talking about music and movies, and I don't know, this like the car brings a certain type of energy out of the both of us. It's very unique. It's weird. And I'm sure there's other couples out there that are like that, but we specifically have like a very particular vibe of conversation whenever we're in the car together. Excited for the Jessica podcast. Almost in shot. You can't really tell, but like right here, Eleanor's sleeping on the chair. Man. I was thinking about, this is the first solo cast in this house that I think I already said that once at the beginning of the podcast. But the last one was in the old house. I was thinking about shooting the solo podcast in the chair that Eleanor's in right now, sitting on that east wall. That was a good time. Those solo podcasts were cool because I would just get kind of tipsy, rip on my Juul, and drink White Claw after White Claw after White Claw, and just end it with a half bag of Funyuns, a half gallon of water, and just pass out. Those are good times, man. I'm glad, oh shit. I don't know how we've made it this far into the podcast, but without bringing this up. This is kind of like this is the Body Language Podcast birthday episode, because November of 2019 I started the podcast, and it's early December of 2020 now. So happy 1 year, Body Language. I love you. And cheers to everybody else that's been here with me from the beginning, all 78 of you, or 80 of you now, I think. So cheers. And could be more. I know that we got some viewers that don't necessarily have Gmail accounts and can just subscribe, so, which is bullshit. I think you should be able to subscribe without having to have a Gmail account. That's bullshit. Well, I think there's a pool of people who have to agree with me on that stupid fucking rule. But anyway, yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this podcast up. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. Again, like and subscribe if you haven't already. Be on the lookout for the audio podcast. Me and Jessica, me, Dan, and Bailey are gonna shoot a podcast, another Friends cast, soon. And Casey Overby, if you ever want to make it on the podcast, man, just hit me up. We were going to podcast the next Conor McGregor fight, but I think he's such a big Conor McGregor fan. I'm a big Conor McGregor fan myself, or at least I fancy myself to be. I know about the man, but he's like a huge Conor McGregor fan, and I don't think he wants to spend that fight unpaid here on my podcast, watching it on my 51-inch TV. So it's like, he's probably going to want to go to somewhere with a bigger TV, not be on the podcast, and he'd focus on the fight. So he may come on, he may be on afterwards, maybe do some reviewing. That would be cool. But anyway, whatever. All those guests, they're coming. That's all I have planned. Really, just those two podcasts, the audio and Bailey and Dan. So be on the lookout for those in the next, like, I don't know, two podcasts in the next 30-40 days potentially. So be on the lookout for those. I don't podcast as much as I should, and for those of you who really do enjoy the ramblings of just me bullshitting, I do appreciate that. Much love to you. It's not as big as you think it is. Part 1 today. Awesome. We're gonna have another segment of that next podcast. 2 podcast guests. Update. Bye van. Christmas travels coming soon. Yeah, all of our links are in the description. Social media, playlist in the background. Merry Christmas, y'all. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Try not to spread this COVID if you can help it. And we love you. We'll see you next time. Body Language Podcast out.